Hi, Ed here. Thank you for watching this video, if you are. I thought I would make a few little podcasts of some guitar tunes which I've started writing. I've previously written on viola. I've recorded a few viola tunes which I'll put in a link underneath if you're interested in those. Wasn't really my intention, but I started writing some guitar tunes. I don't really know where they came from, but I started noodling around on the guitar and little tunes started coming out, so I thought I would play through a few of them, chat a bit about where they're coming from. I hope you find it interesting or useful or at least bearable to watch to the end. The first one is called well, at the moment I provisionally call it Angles, but I'm sure that name will change. And I'll describe why it's called that in a minute. So first of all, here comes the tune. Yeah, so yeah, slightly rough and ready recording of that, but I think you get the idea. That's just recorded straight plugged into the pickup on this, so it's a little bit pingy, the tone, but I think, you know, hopefully you get the idea of what it's all about. So the way that started was I was just kind of this tuning, which perhaps I'll talk about on a different day, has got quite a lot of fifths in it, which means that it's got quite a lot of ninths in it, because if you stick 2 fifths on top of each other you get a ninth. So I was kind of noodling around on these ninths. And there's a nice little kind of chromatic thing that goes when you play the ninths, like this sort of thing. So I like that little so that kind of made me think about little chromatic rundowns, particularly like this. And so kind of noodling around on that, it turned out like this, which is quite a nice little phrase, and it's kind of in a key, it's kind of in that key, which is E flat, I think, on this guitar. Resolves quite nicely onto that. Stayed like that for ages whilst I was fiddling about with it, but just in the last couple of weeks I've just kind of tried to make it a bit more, give it a bit more bounce and a kind of more Martin Carthy-ish type feel, so with a bit of a oh yeah, and there's another note, of course, though, and that's just a convenient open string, nice little diminished fifth, which resolves up, so that became and then I wanted the phrase to kind of move off somewhere else, because it was making me feel a little bit, well, it was too much in a key for my liking, let's say that. So I just a little chromatic from there to here, so it became, second phrase became, and then that kind of resolves to, and it's, again, it's almost tonal. Like that interval, nice major 7. So again, a kind of change of gear, change of sort of tonality, key to that. It took me ages to find this kind of little joining note. I tried lots of little notes in there. Oops. That's not quite right. That's in the key anyway. Actually, I quite like that. like the way that note chromatically goes up. And then a little chromatic rundown using a convenient open string. I don't know really where this phrase came from, but it was turning around a thing, chromatic tune, sort of a bass note staying in the same place, and this just turns that around, so same tune note, chromatic rundown in the bass, which is the same phrase again, but just transposed up a bit. So then the same thing again with the same note in the tune running down in the bass. And then it kind of resolves back to the first little phrase again. It's called angles at the minute because there's a little, maybe it's not really obvious from looking at my fingers, but there's a little sort of, it's just the shape my fingers are making. They're kind of going down in a little diagonal. So that's the A part. This was all quite kind of downward going and kind of quite in the low register, so I wanted the B part to kind of go up. Starts in the same note, so instead of going down chromatically, just goes up. Nice minor 10th, I think that is. And then it goes down chromatically, but more. So it's kind of falling. That's a little phrase borrowed from the A part, and that happens again. Ah. Again, then the end of the phrase is just borrowed from the A part. The next thing is the same tune, and just making it a bit darker by changing the bass note that tune sits on top. And then the final phrase, it's playing the same trick but just with another bass note again. But this time, just to kind of make a bit of contrast, this time the bass note stays static. Nice interval, by the way. Nice major 7 interval like that. And then it goes down. And I think, I haven't quite decided yet, but I think the last one I'll just use a different, instead of going, I think I'll just use a higher, so it comes down onto that. And then to finish the B part, I wanted a kind of another kind of falling phrase, and then to link back into the into the first little angle phrase again. Actually, I'm just moving that ninth up a fourth. Very squeaky. Poor technique, I think that is. So that's the tune. I hope my bumblings on about it have made a bit of sense. Quite interesting for me to kind of think back and reanalyze where things came from in the first place. I hadn't realised that was moving up a fourth. Which is kind of going back to what I was thinking about in the first place, moving ninths around. There's a second tune which follows this tune in a little set. I'll record that in a separate video and chat about that in a similar bumbling and rambling manner, probably. So that's all for now.